Hi, everyone. This is Corrine Weidenthal. Good to see some of you. I see a lot of people have joined the call. That's wonderful. Um, we are attempting to provide some training for the 524B, the standard APR that we'll be using this year. It is not new to you. Well, it's new for if you're a new director, but if you've been involved in the program for a while, you complete the entire 524B for your final reports. So now we're moving to annual. So probably the most painful thing is uploading into G5. And I'm going to turn it over to August to get us started, and we'll walk through all the materials for you. So thanks for joining today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this training. Hope you all are doing well. We have the agenda on the screen. I don't know if we have anybody who called in, but if you called in, we do have the agenda on the screen for today's call. We had advertised this for 2 to 3 o'clock, but on the agenda it says 2 to 3:30. So if we go over, we have license to do so, which is awesome. Hopefully we won't hold you on too long. But taking a look at the agenda, at the very top, at the very first bullet point, we have the annual performance reports, performance periods for the 250 Marys who were funded in 2019. You will be reporting on your 4th year. The 250 Novembers funded in 2021 will be reporting on their 2nd year. And the 250Ps will be reporting on your 1st year. And the reporting period or budget period, as you'll find the ED 524B form notes it, is the budget period is October 1, 2022 through September 30, 2023. We are going to be looking at the ED 524B form, which is the cover sheet and the executive summary. And then we will be walking you through the status chart. And then hopefully after we've gone through the 3 parts of the status chart, we will have some time for question and answers. But let's go ahead and start with the ED 524B cover sheet and executive summary. So Wayne or somebody, if you could bring up the 524B form that we sent out, that'd be great. Well, there's everybody.
Yeah.
Good to see some faces on here, some of you brave ones. That's not it.
That's the, am I on mute? No. Those are the forms for you to complete the Word version prior to submitting it in G5, and you just right click to hover over the hyperlink, and you should be able to easily pull those up.
Now, just real quick, even though you have access to these forms will be available in the G5 website. When you log into the G5 website, the ED 524B cover sheet, executive summary, and status chart will be available for you to complete in the system. Now, if you click on these links, they'll give you the Word version or PDF version. It'll help you gather that data. So all you have to do is enter that data once you're ready to submit it into G5.
Yeah. And if you know anything about G5, it times out. You never know when it's going to shut down. So we highly recommend you keep your own document in your computer.
Absolutely. And please keep a copy of all your reports and your ED 524Bs with your official files in your office. In case G5 ever goes down or you need ready access to it, it'll be right there for you in your files, whether it's on your laptop or whether you print it out and put it on in your hard files. But please keep a copy of all your reports so you can refer to them in the future. So let's go to the next form, the ED 524B form cover sheet.
It's the one with tips.
Okay. Awesome. Is this big enough for everybody to see? If we can enlarge that just slightly.
Hey, August, this is Ron. Hey, bring that up a little bit for us, would you?
Yeah, if you can enlarge it, enlarge the
Sorry
form.
about this, hiding behind my Zoom screen. I'm like, how do I get to the to the Zoom?
Well, because the other option is for you guys to see me looking on the screen like this over my glasses.
Yeah.
'Cause it's too small.
How does 120% look?
That looks good. Ron, does that look good to you?
It looks much better for me, August.
Yes, sir. Yeah, looks
Okay.
good. Looks good.
Very good.
Excellent. Now you've all been filling out these forms for years. For those of you who are new to the project, brand new project directors, and are in here for your first year and you're doing your first report, this is a standard form that was required to be submitted with every annual performance report in the past. What we're doing now is we are eliminating that 9-section annual performance report form, and we are going strictly to this ED 524B form with the cover sheet and status chart and the executive summary. So this is the only report you will be submitting in G5 for now. So if you are not familiar with this form, you will see at the top under the U.S. Department of Education, there are two options. You have a bracket that right next to annual performance report and a bracket next to final performance report. You'll be putting an X in the annual performance report. Then down number 1, you will list out your PR award number, which usually starts with H250. And depending on the year you were funded, it'll be either M for Mary, N for November, or P. So you're going to list out your PR award number. Number 2 under grants NCES ID number, you can just put a N/A for non-applicable. And then your project title under number 3, number 4, your grantee name. You can get this information off your grant award notification. Your grantee address, and then your project director. And it does seem a little counterintuitive to say on number 6, project director, and then say name and then title. And that's because not all project directors have their title as director. Some of them are have the title as manager. So the project director should be have their name here, and then your phone number, your email address. I don't know how many people actually use fax numbers anymore, but if you have a fax number, go ahead and put it in there. And then under number 7, you're looking at reporting period. And for this one, it's October 1, 2022 through September 30, 2023. Now, everyone received this Word document in your email yesterday. So if you want to just use this form and then just modify it to include your information, you won't have to add too much because we already have for reporting period the 10/1/2022 through 9/30/2023. So do we have any questions so far up through number 7?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay, great. So number 8 is where everybody seems to, not everybody, a lot of projects confuse question number 8A, B, and C. Now this is for the budget expenditure. This is not how much you were awarded. This is how much you've actually spent for that year. So for for previous budget period, what we're looking at is the amount of money you expended in the previous budget period. And that will be October 1, 2021 through 9/30/2022. Now, the amount that you expended for that specific budget period will tell you how much cost share and match you were required to contribute. You would take the amount that you actually expended. So if you have a $450,000 grant, you're going to divide that by 9, and that's the amount that you were required to match on your award. So you take the amount that you expended, you divide that by 9, and that's how much your non-federal funds at a minimum should be. Now, some tribes have contributed more for their cost share matching requirement. What we're asking you to put in this row A, column non-federal funds, we're asking you to put the actual amount that you actually cost shared or matched against the grant. But at a very minimum, it should be the amount that you expended divided by 9. That clear as mud? So the question 8B is the current budget period, and that's the budget period you're reporting on now, which is October 1, 2022 through 9/30/2023. And that should, so the amount that you expended in your current budget period should also include the amount that you carried over from the previous year. So it's not unheard of that the amount that you put in the federal grant funds is more than what you actually were awarded because of your carryover funds. What we need is how much you actually spent during the current budget period and the amount that you actually matched against those funds. Numbers, letter C, 8C, you're not going to worry about it now. So,
August.
yes.
We got a couple questions before we go too far ahead here in the chat.
Yeah, just going to open the floor for questions. Go ahead.
Okay, good. I didn't mean to interrupt you too much.
Oh, no,
So,
go ahead.
Jacob Timmons had asked to clarify if we matched more than required, we report the actual amount matched.
Yes, you're reporting the actual amount, even if it's more than what was required. You're reporting the actual amount that you actually contributed towards the matching requirement.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, great. Thank you. That's what he said. Then Wayne Miller question, will we be able to view this meeting on a recording? Oh, yeah. Yes, we're recording this and we will be posting this on our YouTube channel and also on our website as a link for resources in the future. Shanina
Hicks.
Hicks,
Yeah,
do you want to unmute?
you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is because we are in our final year of our grant. So for this year, how do we answer that match if we don't know what?
You're not reporting on the year you're in now.
Mhm.
You're reporting on the year you just completed.
Okay,
So you're going October 1, 2022 through 9/30/2023. You will report on your current year today, next year.
yeah, okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Rachel Allen asked, these areas include accruals, correct?
Yeah.
I would believe so, yeah. So whatever's obligated, if you have obligations that have not been reconciled yet, they're still obligated funds. Accrued obligated funds. Those would still count against this grant or this budget period. Your tribe just has not reconciled those accounts yet. So that's why we give you 90 days to complete this. So that allows enough time for your finance office, budget office to reconcile those accounts So you have an accurate amount that you've expended and an accurate amount that you've matched. So it's every expenditure, whether it's been reconciled or not, up through September 30, 2023. Any expenditures after that date will count for the next annual performance report. Okay?
Okay, so Elena asked, so are we still dividing the actual amount by 9 as well in box B?
Yes, that should be the very minimum that has been matched for that budget period. So if you expended, again, if you have a $500,000 grant, you've only expended $400,000. You're taking the $400,000, you're dividing it by 9, and at a very minimum, that's what should be contributed towards match. And again, if your tribe put in your grant application, your approved grant application, that you'd contribute more, then you would enter that actual amount in that column.
Okay, then Amanda asked, what if we have carryover now? So we didn't spend all funds for 10/1/22 to 9/30/23, had 38,000 carryover from 9/30/22 that was spent by 9/30/23.
Read that again. My ADD kicked in.
What if we have carryover now? They didn't spend, what's that?
Yeah, the carryover that you have now is going to be reported in the status chart under part B of the status chart. So
yeah, that's not, yeah, it's in the budget information section,
Yeah.
part B,
Yep.
that we'll be
Part B.
talking about. Yep.
Yeah, we will get to that, but if you have carryover from the budget period that we're reporting on, going into the budget period you are in now, that will be reported in the status chart under part B. We will get to that soon.
Okay, that's it on the chat box for now.
Okay, so going into indirect cost rate information, question number 9, are you claiming indirect cost under this grant? If you are, then definitely put an X under yes. Some tribes have actually contributed their match as part of their indirect cost rate as part of match. So if your tribe's not charging indirect against your grant, then you obviously you put an X in no. However, if you are, then you're going into the next set of questions. Question 9B, the grantee has an indirect cost rate agreement by the federal government. Now, the period covered by the indirect cost rate agreement is from. Now, you should put the actual dates that are on the indirect cost rate agreement itself in this form, from whenever it started to whenever it expires. And then the approving federal agency is either ED or other. You can type in here whether it's the Department of Interior, whether it's HHS, Department of Labor, whoever your cognizant agency is that your tribe has negotiated an indirect cost rate agreement with, will go in the approving federal agency. And then you're going to list the indirect cost rate percentage that is being charged against the grant. Then the type of rate, is it provisional? Is it other? And then question C, the 9C, is whether or not you're using the de minimis rate. And we can go more in depth into that here in a little bit, but I just want to get through these questions real quick. Question 9D, the grantee is, okay, I gotta use my old man classes here. The grantee is funded under restricted rate. No, we are so don't worry about question number 9D or question number 9E. The grantee is funded under training rate program. So you're just looking at question 9A and 9B And if you're using the de minimis rate, you're using question 9C. Questions, Wayne, I saw some questions popping up in there.
Yep. So we have, can you please repeat that part about indirect cost can be part of match?
Okay, so some tribes have determined or decided to not charge their grant indirect cost, which means that they can count that amount of money that's supposed to go towards indirect cost as a matching contribution. If you have like a 15% indirect cost rate, negotiated approved amount, if the tribe chooses not to charge that 15% against the grant, they can use that money they're not charging against the grant as a matching requirement. Does that make sense? Does that need more explanation?
I think we're
Okay,
good.
next question, Wayne.
Yes, we were under an expired indirect cost agreement. Our tribe just got approved for the rates the last 2 years. Do I use the 10%?
I don't know. I haven't seen the check yet.
Do I use the 10% de minimis that we were approved for, or do we put what they negotiated for that year?
Okay, so the indirect cost rates have specific expiration dates on their form. The actual indirect cost rate agreement has an expiration date. If your indirect cost rate has expired previous or during this budget period, then you would have needed to inform us that the tribe would charge the de minimis rate of 10% of the modified total direct cost. If you have not,
August,
can I finish real quick?
sorry, go ahead.
So if you have not contacted your program officer about entering into the de minimis rate, it probably would be beneficial for you to do that now. Now, there's the regulations don't require you to request approval for entering into de minimis rate. It just requires you to inform us that you're going to be using the de minimis rate. So to answer the question, if you have an expired rate, then you can definitely discuss that de minimis rate with your program officer, and we'll look at either a retro charging of it, or we will look at what the circumstances are. Corinne, did you want to add clarification to that?
Sorry, no, I just wanted to remind everybody that all of the citations for that are under the agenda, on the second page of the agenda, where we included when you'll need to use the de minimis rate. If you have an expired indirect cost agreement or not, doesn't have to be expired. You may just choose to use that. So I don't know if we want to go circle back to that later, August, but I just wanted to point that out.
I think we can circle back to it, or I think actually, we'll just say it's a resource, what we provided. Please take a look at what it's written there regarding the de minimis rate. Now, I will say this, if your tribe, the way the regulations are written, if your tribe continues to charge indirect cost against the grant after the indirect cost rate agreement has expired, that could become a legal issue, and we will definitely need to have a conversation with you. That is why with every annual performance report, we request you to send us the most current indirect cost rate agreement, so we can make sure that the tribe is remaining compliant to the regulations and not getting into any legal issues regarding the charging of indirect against a grant that has no agreement attached to it. Wayne, additional questions, or Corinne, did you want something to add?
One other thing is that our G5 contact is creating a section when they submit the APR in G5 that they will also need to submit the indirect cost agreement in G5 as opposed to sending it to the project officer so that everything will be in one place.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in G5, we did add a tab where you can upload your indirect cost rate agreement rather than emailing it to us. You're just going to upload it into G5. Wayne, other questions?
Yep, Rachel asked if the agreement amount is not the amount the tribe actually charged, which do we list in B? Say the agreement was 50%, but the tribe only charged 40% to the grant.
You are going to list the 40% and make a notation that they're only charging 40%, not the total 50%. Because that's what's being charged against your grant. And then what we'll do is we'll take a look at your indirect cost rate agreement that you send us. We do cross-reference your indirect cost rate agreement against this form here to make sure that they match. But we just need you to notate that the tribe is contributing and only charging 40%.
Okay, and then we loop back around with Megan. She said, okay, we were approved by my project officer, but for that line, do I put down 10%, what we used all year, or what the tribe just negotiated for that year?
Okay, depends on when that negotiated rate goes effective. If it is effective as of a date after this budget period, then you're going to only use the 10% in the previous. Does that answer the question? Did I get that wrong?
And then Rachel followed up with, and Megan says, yes, thank you. Rachel follows up with, note it directly on the form. So
What?
whatever, if the 40 or 50%, you just note it directly on the form.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And Connie Berg says, hello, August and Corinne and Joy and Adrian.
Hello. Hello.
All right, there we go.
All right, so we scroll down, please. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we are into human subjects. Please mark NA, non-applicable. I really don't want to hear about any human subjects in our AI VRS program. That would be bizarre. Data privacy and security measures certification, you are marking yes in that. And it says, is a statement affirming that you are aware of federal and state data security and student privacy regulations included with supporting documentation attached or placed in the executive summary. What we're looking for is just a simple statement that you are aware and it is a part of your policy procedures. If you want to upload a copy of your policy procedure that discusses security, please do so. But you can make that notation in the executive summary, and everybody will be marking yes on this. Performance measures, status and certifications, our complete data and performance measures for the current budget period, including the project status chart. Yes, you will be reporting on your GEPRA measures or your performance measures in the status chart. So we're just going to say yes, A to A. And then I do want to read this last part. And this is going to take a minute, but I think it's important that we read this. Number 13 says, by signing this report, I certify to the best of my knowledge and belief that the report is true, complete, and accurate, and the expenditures, disbursements, and cash receipts are for the purposes and objectives set forth in the terms and conditions of the federal award. I am aware that any false, fictitious, or fraudulent information or the omission of any material facts may subject me to criminal, civil, or administrative penalties for fraud, false statement, false claim, or otherwise. And then it shows the citation for that. Now, furthermore, to the best of my knowledge and belief, all data in this performance report are true, complete, and correct, and the report fully discloses all known weaknesses concerning the accuracy, reliability, and completeness of data reported. So please note that by signing this form, you are acknowledging that there are no errors and that everything in it is true. If it is discovered or determined that some data that you report in this is inaccurate, it may open you up to some level of legal liability. So, and then you name of the authorized representative that's signing this, and then the signature with the title and the date that it's signed. Do we have any questions on any of these numbers 10 through 13?
We have one that's question came up. How do we know if the current indirect rate and agreement for our tribe is current with you?
If you have any doubts, send us the one you have. Because all we can or ask us which one we have. All we have are the indirect cost rate agreements that you send us, whether it's through an annual performance report, or if during the year, say you're in March, April, May, a new indirect cost rate agreement is signed and dated, then you would send us that one at that point. But if in doubt, just send us the one you have that's most current. Send it to your program officer. Any questions? Any other questions?
Nope, that's it. Maybe, I don't know if anybody, that's all in the chat box.
Okay, so let's go into the executive summary. Should have to, oop. They've waved
Miles,
all
you
these
you just had to
faces.
scroll down on that one, Miles. It's on the same form.
Got it. Just kidding about that. It's coming up.
So August, we
All
got
right,
another
I'm gonna
question
look at all
pop in
these
here.
names.
Can my director sign it versus the CEO, chief, chairman?
Say it again, you kind of broke up.
Can my director sign it versus the CEO, chief, or chairman?
This form, it's typically filled out by somebody in the business or finance office. If your tribal chairman, chairperson, president, chief has authorized you to sign it, then by all means do so, but otherwise it should be an authorized representative. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, so on top of here, you're going to see again where we ask you to mark this as an annual performance report under the U.S. Department of Education. You have the annual performance report and final performance report. You're putting an X in the annual performance report. Again, you're putting in the PR award number. It's going to start with H250. It's going to be Mary or M for those who were funded in 19. November, 250 November for those funded in 2021, and P for those funded in 2022. And then the executive summary is really a place where you can add clarification to any data that you're reporting on. We'll go ahead and read this. We're going to provide a one-page executive summary for annual performance report highlighting of the project's goals and the extent to which the expected outcomes and performance measures were achieved. In this section, include a statement and or document affirming that you are aware of the federal and state data security and student privacy regulations included from question number 11 on the cover sheet. Now, this says a one page, but I'm going to go ahead and say if you need more than one page, then go beyond that one page. We don't mind receiving that qualifying data that you want to enter here. And this would also include your success stories or anything that will qualify the services that you provide. If you're included success stories, it's always a good idea to repeat what we said in the past, and that means do not include any personal identifying information or what we call PII or sensitive personal identifying information. That may include your names, addresses, social security numbers, anything that's going to lead us to a specific individual would be considered PII or SPII. So do not include any of that information in your success stories. Corinne, do you have anything you want to add?
You're watching me take myself off mute, huh?
Yep.
Yes, we can talk about it when we get down to additional information in section C. Because that would most likely go in section C, additional information, the success stories. That's where we have it. But this executive summary is really geared towards laying out your project goals and the extent to which you achieved those goals. So it's more about your goals and objectives of the program, a summary, a snapshot, even though you're going to complete a status chart. So,
And we do recognize that you have a lot of project goals and objectives. So like I said, don't hold yourself to one page. If you need to go over one page, please do so.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Use
Yeah,
as much space as you need.
yeah, the instructions actually say provide a 1 to 2 page. So no limit.
So do we have any other questions or any questions regarding the executive summary?
Nothing from the chat box.
Okay. That concludes this part of the cover sheet and executive summary. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Joy, who is going to discuss, I believe, the status chart. I'm seeing a lot of faces that I haven't seen in a while. Hey, Ramona.
And I may be doing that August. I think Joy's having issues logging in, or she
Okay.
was going to talk about the budget section. There's
Oh,
not a
yes,
lot to,
yes, that's right.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll hand it over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And again, that cover page and executive summary, you've been doing that every year. So I'm sure you hear from your project officers if something is left off or not reported. We've been having some issues with the indirect cost agreements being expired lately, and that kind of sparked the whole de minimis language. We do know that many of you are working towards getting it updated, so that's perfectly fine. To be able to, to have an expired but working towards getting the new one.
What form are we looking for?
We're looking for the status table exam. Yes, that's it. Thank you. What we wanted to do was to provide some more concrete examples with these tables, and we have not done that yet, but we have a follow-up training in November. But we wanted to give you the tools to be able to get started. And if I have any test cases out there who want to work with us in filling out these tables as examples, I'd welcome that. Because we really want to customize it to your program and project objectives. So this one, another attachment, there were several attachments to the invite, was the GEPRA measures. And I think you're all familiar with our GEPRA measures. Those are what we collect to report to Congress on the progress of the program. And so we attach those separately because you're going to be inserting those here. And we haven't done that yet, but you have the tools to do it. So you're looking for the target that you would like and the actual performance data. So we have a placeholder here for, if you could scroll down, for A, B1. B has 3 subparts. If we look at our GEPRA measures, and C and D. So there are 4 measures with a couple subparts under number 2. So the other thing that I've noticed is that many of you, your project objectives align with those program objectives. So you have the same measures, and that's great. And there are a couple of ways that you can report those. You can report them underneath the GEPRA measure, or you can have a separate section where you report them. It will feel very redundant. So I think I saw a volunteer to help us on this. That would be wonderful. Well, we'll come back. So if you could scroll down. we left a placeholder for the project objectives. And again, those are the objectives that you have laid out in your application to us and that you have reported in the other APR form. This is just a different format. So you report the quantitative data, the raw number, or the ratio and percentage. Most of these are going to be probably raw numbers as opposed to the ratio and the percentage. Underneath, there's an explanation of progress that you can provide qualitative information. Again, look at the instructions. It's asking to provide any explanation of these measures. How did you evaluate these measures? What kind of outcome did you receive as a result of evaluation? So it kind of gets into that realm as well. We probably, when we do the follow-up training, we probably should put that language in the table so that you'll see what we're looking for under the explanation of progress. So let me stop there. That was very quick because, again, we're going to circle back. We didn't want to delay this training because we want to keep on track with the deadline of January 5th submission and get the information out there. So at least you'll have the tools to begin to work on this. These performance measures, maybe it's going to be very unique to your programs. You might have them, you might develop them, but how do you want to measure the objectives that you've laid out in your application? This is the part that's going to take a little time to kind of get used to, and then it'll probably change again next year when the standard form is updated, but hopefully not. Any questions? I do see some questions that came through.
And let me just really quick
Sure.
add that this is specifically for quantitative data only. This is not for qualitative data. This is specifically quantitative, those measures that you can count. So, and that's typically, the numbers you propose to serve, the numbers you actually served, numbers you propose to employ, the numbers you actually employed. So those kind of measures and any other measures that you have in your approved grant application that are quantifiable.
We don't have any questions right now, but Carol is volunteering to work with you on this program status chart.
Right. Thank you very much. Take you up on that. So I would begin, maybe just have a separate document where you begin to look at your data and have it ready to go, or take a stab at putting it in the status charts, and we'll work with you in refining it. The main thing we want to see is that you have the data and that you're including any qualitative data under explanation of progress. The explanation does not need to be lengthy. I've seen volumes in some tables. Does not need to be a huge explanation under there. So as you begin to work on this, please share it with us and we can provide feedback that way. And we'll also be providing further examples. So let's go down to section B. And keep going. These are kind of placeholders. You can add pages. If you use the Word document, you can add pages if you have more objectives than what we have in this document. Joy, are you doing this section? I don't know if you were able to log back in. Okay, I'll keep going. So these are directly from the instructions that you have. You're going to report the data for budget expenditure data. Please follow the instructions for completing A to C. You have that already. This part, we would like to know, we would like an explanation if funds have not been drawn down to pay for budget expenditures. Note these funds may have been obligated but not drawn down. If so, please explain. So at the end of the fiscal year, you did that carryover estimate form. At the end of the year, what did you have were the funds obligated, so they've maybe been encumbered or invoiced out, but not drawn down in G5. And we collect all of that information from G5, so we know exactly to date what you have available in your available balance. So a project officer might say, you've got 150,000, but what from there is encumbered or obligated but not drawn down. Provide an explanation if you did not expend funds at the expected rate, and describe any significant changes to your budget resulting from modification of project activities. Joy said she was speaking, but no one could hear her. Do you want to try again, Joy? I think this is pretty clear cut. We are going to be monitoring the balances more frequently and talking to you about activities and drawdowns, just to make sure that you're in a good place before we obligate the next round of funds.
I'm gonna go ahead and just add real quick, for those
Sure.
of you who received the packet that was emailed to you yesterday, the version of the form you received yesterday had a table in it. That table is not required. However, if you do want to use it as a tool to take a look at your own budgets, we encourage you to do that. But please don't feel like you need to include that as a part of this. It is not required, but if it helps you organize your thoughts on your budgets, by all means, go ahead and use it. So,
Good point. Thank you. All right. Section C. And this is the additional information. The instructions talk about partners, and we were brainstorming about what kinds of information would be applicable to the AIVRS program. We would certainly like to hear about your state VR agency, MOU, and how that relationship is working, partners related to employers, or any other information you'd like to share, and how that has impacted your ability to achieve your objectives. Describe any changes, if you wish to make changes in grant activities for the next budget period that are consistent with the scope and objectives. Report any recent or upcoming changes in key personnel and the impact on the grant. On that one, please make sure that you also send a separate email to your project officer to make sure that they approve those changes in key personnel. And then here, please feel free to share success stories, innovative strategies, or anything else about your program that you would like to share with us.
And we have a
Questions or
question.
August?
Yeah, we have a question. Shelley asked, what are these last forms we were going over? I have not done them before.
The forms, this section that I've been talking about, the status tables.
Yes, the status
Yes.
tables.
So we have decided to move towards the standard Department of Education form. And this is the standardized form that the rest of the department uses. There are a couple other programs that use different forms as well. We decided to move towards this form because we weren't the other form was lengthy, and we weren't really using a lot of that data other than what we report to Congress. You may have been using it when you were looking at evaluation and activities in your program. But the purpose of this form is to report the progress to us, and hopefully it's a bit more streamlined. It's going to feel cumbersome this year, but hopefully after that it'll be a lot easier, especially next year. You can just use the same form and update the year and the numbers.
And then, Corinne, we had some questions about G5 transition G6, and when will this go live?
We've been hearing any day for about a year now, August.
yeah, about a year.
Yeah, any day. But we don't know. I understand that it's still being tested.
And
And
then
I
is-
also, and I did want to point out too that the G5 tips to upload are on the second page of the letter, the APR letter that we sent. It's very difficult for us to help you with G5 because we don't see what you see when you go in. It's a whole different portal. We only see a placeholder for where the report's going to go. So there's a tip sheet that I hope you will find helpful. Have not tested it, but it's current and hopefully it'll help you navigate G5.
then we also have a question, is the program status chart required to submit?
Yes.
Okay, and Michelle,
Yes,
Wilson? Yeah,
yes, I have a question. I know that one of the questions on the report talks about interaction with the state agency. And I know that one of the really important pieces of that is if a tribe is in place, if there's a tribal VR program in the state, then the state is supposed to have a designated tribal VR representative on the rehabilitation council for that state.
Right.
And yes, and in the state of Oklahoma, we have 10 tribes in the state. And so what we have traditionally done is the tribes get together, we talk about it, and as a group, we decide who we would like to serve on that board when a position becomes available, because they have set terms. You can't go over so many years, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we just submitted a name to the state, which is Debbie Davenport with the Choctaw Nation. She's worked in tribal VR almost as long as I have, and I've been here almost 25 years. So she's been here a long, long time, does a great job, runs one of the biggest tribal VR programs. And all of the tribal VR programs unanimously support Debbie to be on that. We're getting a little bit of pushback from the really it's from the governor's office. And so my question is, I was wondering is from RSA, would you guys be able to submit us a letter to, could be to OKTBR, could be straight to Governor Stint's office, whatever, just saying that, and I could send you the letter that we submitted as OKTBR stating that we are submitting Debbie's name and this is who we would like to suggest. Is that something that RSA could send as well if I send you a copy of that letter?
Well, I think we would have to work with our partners here, the state monitoring improvement side, the SMPID side. We have worked with them in the past to resolve some issues between states and tribes. So I think we would start there first.
Okay.
To work with the program officer in the state monitoring side for Oklahoma, and hopefully also with the liaison. But if you do send us that letter, that would be our first step, is to
Okay.
work with the state monitoring side first. And then they would determine what actions would be necessary, especially if they are rejecting a nominee for that. That's
Yeah, it's all political BS is where it's coming from. So yeah.
I hear you.
So okay, well, we'll send that to you then. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
So really quick to come back to this form. Somebody had asked if the status chart was required. The status chart in the past has only been required for the final performance report. We are now, instead of using that long 9-section annual performance reporting form you used last year, we're just now using the status chart in that place. So that's going to be required every year for every annual performance report. But previously it's only been used for the final performance report. So if you haven't seen the form, that's why you haven't seen it. The 250 Marys funded in 2019 will definitely be using that form again next year for their final performance report.
Yeah. And what's also interesting, even though there's instructions and it's a standard form, if you have grants with other offices, Office of Indian Education within the department, for example, everybody does it a little bit differently. So again, we're just trying to make it as simple as we can for you. So hopefully next time we'll have more examples of how to fill out the table. Again, some of you who prepare the final reports, hopefully it's not a huge lift for you. You've done this. We're going to be reviewing those to see what we can pull from them as well. I see a lot of chat, but I'm not looking in the.
Yeah, let me go ahead and really quick say there is a difference between the status chart in section A and that table we included as under section B. The table that was included in section B of this report is not required and can be used as a tool. If you do choose to include it as in the report, that's fine. But the status chart in section A is required. I just want to make a differentiation between the two. There's the status chart, and then there's that table we included under section B. So don't get them mixed up.
And the table is just really what you have to submit in your grant application. So you could create your own using Excel if you wanted to.
So Angie asked if we are not allowed to draw indirect costs until we receive a current rate for the fiscal year we are operating in, correct?
Yes. Are you working towards getting a current one? Is it in process?
So if you have an expired rate, what you can do is request from the cognizant agency a provisional indirect cost rate or a permission to use the rate that expired until such time as the new negotiated rate is approved. So you can request from the cognizant agency approval to continue to use the expired rate until the new indirect cost rate goes into effect. I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, indirect should not be charged against a grant after that expiration date has arrived.
And we're at the mark at 3.
Thank you, Adrienne. Any other questions in the chat?
Rachel wants to know who initiates that request.
Well, you as a project director, if you know that the indirect cost rate has expired, I mean, that's a conversation you will have to have with your finance office, business office, or your authorized representative to get that, to submit that request to the cognizant agency. But the authorized representative is the one that negotiates the rate with the cognizant agency. So you have to communicate with that authorized representative.
I see there's a question about the tip sheet. That's the second page of the letter, the Dear AIVRS director's letter that talks about the timelines and the requirements. It's at the second page. Wayne, I wanted to ask you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there a place in the AVERTAX website that these forms could be housed? Maybe that so that people could easily retrieve them?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have this up on YouTube for the video piece, the recording piece. It'll be under the AVERTAC YouTube channel, and we're gonna create a playlist that's called RSA APR Training 2023. We'll have at least the 2 videos that we have, if you guys do more. So that'll be available for review. And then on our website, we have a resources tab at the top menu. In that drop down, we're going to put all of the RSA materials in that, and we'll identify it as the APR materials.
Great. Excellent. Thank you for doing that. Things get buried in our emails. So it's great to be able to go to one place to access everything.
And I'll put the YouTube channel link in the chat box again.
So, and just to remind you, we are going to have a part 2 to this. And it is going to be a little bit more in-depth than what we went through today. Today was an overview of the forms and the requirements. In part 2 that will be held in November, we are going to go a little bit more in-depth into the status chart with more examples, and hopefully to clarify any other questions you might have up to that point. Now, if anybody has any questions about anything in these materials or the report that's required, please reach out to your program officer. Email is always the best way to go, and try to set up a meeting with them. So for questions regarding the APR, reach out to your program officer.
We do have a couple more questions that came in the chat box if you have time.
Okay.
Okay. Rachel asked, in G5, there is no initiate button mentioned in number 4. Do we contact the G5 help desk, or is this something that needs to be addressed on
That's-
RSA's side?
That's very good feedback. I will check into that.
Amanda,
That's from the tip sheet that I was given. And like I said, you guys are the tester to see if that tip sheet works. But if it's causing confusion, we'll check into that.
Amanda also asked if entering data now into G5, will it transfer to G6 automatically?
We have no
No.
idea.
We
Yeah.
hope so.
We-
We
Just-
hope so,
one
yeah.
can only hope. I would think so, yes.
And then
We
she
have
also,
had some glitches in G5 lately, and I have a feeling it's because they are trying to connect G5 to G6. It created some glitches in a lot of your grant award notifications that we found out. We're hoping that it's a smoother transition up to G6 with everything migrating over, than all this fiasco they've been giving us in the last couple of months.
Amanda also wanted to know if the forms are already in G5. She has to complete hers a little bit earlier. Are they already up in G5?
Amanda, well, this would be an opportunity to congratulate Amanda and Tanana Chiefs. I got it, Tanana Chiefs Conference. Yes, this would be a good opportunity to recognize TCC and that they have an approved 477 plan. So congratulations. And Amanda, let's work with you separately, given that yours is due very soon. So just use the forms and send them to Joy and I. Will that work?
And for everybody else, we do have to create the package in G5, and that's in the process now, and hopefully it'll be complete soon.
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason why Rachel can't initiate it if the package isn't there. I understood it was, but I will check into that.
Then we got another one. What if we can get in? What if we can't get into G5 because your manager left the position?
Oh,
Please contact your program officer, and they'll definitely work with you to try to get
Yeah.
access.
yeah, you just
Yeah,
need to
the
be.
G5. And we have the
Go ahead.
G5 help desk number in the chat as well.
So that in that case, you'll need to your project officer will need to do an admin action and add you under project director so you can access everything in G5.
But there's some steps you need to take before that, but yeah, contact your program officer so we can walk you through the process, because there are some required documents we'll need to get from you.
Yeah, always please, when someone leaves and key personnel defined as the project officer, certifying official, please let us know so we can keep G5 updated.
And these
But
are,
also it needs approval. The project director needs approval from us.
and the APRs are due the first week of January, correct?
January
Yes.
5th, which is a Friday.
January 5th.
If
Okay.
not sooner.
Yes, please do not wait until the last minute to submit them. If you get them done sooner, please submit them as soon as you get them done. But yeah, we do recognize there's a learning curve on this, so we might be a little bit more lenient, but please don't wait till the last minute.
August really asks, or really likes that 459 on January 5th. He loves those ones that get submitted then. So make sure we do 459.
Every white hair in this chin is from a 459. Please
Then we got
don't add to it.
One more
Yeah.
question. If the indirect cost rate expired, can a tribe charge the 10% de minimis rate until such time the cognizant agency negotiates the new rate?
Yes, you can. You just need to notify your program officer that the tribe will be charging the de minimis rate for that. And please, again, it is cited in the materials we sent you under 2 CFR 200, the uniform guidance. Please look that up in the uniform guidance to have a better understanding of the parameters of the de minimis rate, because there are specific parameters. But the answer is yes. Just talk to your program officer and let them know.
We got a grant question. I am new here. My grant is up this year. Where do new access the information to apply for a new voc rehab grant for another 5 years? Where do you find that information on the new proposal and application?
Oh, for the next grant competition?
Yes.
We will hopefully be publishing that in the next month or two. It will be in the Federal Register under the assistance listing number 84.250Q grant competition. So that should be in two places, the Federal Register and grants.gov. If you have not registered in grants.gov and you're in your final year of your grant, do that now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when it publishes, as long as you're registered, you should have immediate access to it when it is published in grants.gov. So grants.gov is going to be the best place to get it.
And when will the deadline be for the new grant applicants?
It'll be 120 days after the notice has been published.
And you don't really have to wait until it's published, because there will not be a lot of changes. You can take out your last one and just do a lot of updates and at least get started that way. So
The other thing is
don't
too, is
wait for us.
get into grants.gov and look under the 250P grant competition. You should be able to find the application package in there. Again, there's not much that has changed, so you can follow that, use that as a template. And if there's any changes under the 250Q, it shouldn't be too hard for you to modify your grant to meet those requirements. So just as a template, if you want to get a head start, grants.gov, look under 84.250P, and then you should be able to find that previous grant application package.
The other thing that will happen is we'll make sure to blast out the Federal Register notice, and there will also be a pre-application webinar. So there'll be a lot of support provided when that comes out.
All right, if there's no other questions,
Nope.
I can go back to my res snack that I was eating earlier.
All right, so in the next few days, you'll see another announcement come out for the part 2 of this training. Again, we'll do the same format. We'll have a Zoom link and all that for everybody to follow.
I will
Great.
also be at the KNR conference. Me and Adrian Rodriguez will be at the KNR conference in December. We will be available for any questions you might have. Hopefully you are pretty far into the process, but we will be available for questions at the KNR conference.
See everyone
free to
in
reach
part
out.
2, November 16th.
Thank you.
2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you
Wayne-
all.
Wayne, thank you for hosting this and recording this. We appreciate what you've done here. And please, when Wayne sends out that link, please make use of it. Repetition is good in trying to get this thing done. So thank you, everybody. Hope you all have a great rest of the week.
Thank you all. Have a good day.